Hey, what's up guys? This video is going to cover section 1.6, which is about relations. So before we actually go into what is a relation, we need to understand how to graph numbers, points on a number line. And we're going to move on to a coordinate plane. So first, let's look at a regular number line that you guys seen before. And I have some numbers here, and I do have a number line where you guys have the 0 in the middle, and we have the positive numbers on the right side and the negative numbers on the left side. I'm just going to put a dot, like a period or a circle, on top of the number that I want to show. So the first one is a positive 5. So what you do in the number line, from 0, you go to the positive 5, which is on the right side, and you guys will make a circle. So I make my circle right here. The second number I want to show is a decimal. And the decimal is 8.5. So from the 0, I'm going to go to the positive 8, and I'm going to go to the 0.5, which is right in between the 8 and the 9. Now the next one is a negative number. So from that 0, I'm going to go to the left side to the negative 5, and I just count the steps, or you can look for that number, negative 5, and it's going to be right here. And the next one is a mixed number, but it is a negative 2 and 2/3. Now, negative 3 and 2/3, if you want that as a decimal, using a calculator, it's going to be about negative 3.666666, and it keeps going and going and going. So you guys can rewrite this as negative 3.6 with the line repeating on top of the 6. So that's close to negative 4. So what I do is, on the negative 3, from 0, I go to the negative 3, and I go a little bit more out, close to the negative 4, because we have a 0.6 for that number. So I'm going to put a number right negative 3 in between negative 4. So what am I doing? I am plotting points on a number line, and notice that every time I wanted to plot a point or make a circle, I always start at the 0. And from that number, 0, I either went to the right or I went to the left. Well, a coordinate plane is very similar to a number line. It actually is a number line, but now you guys will have two number lines. One number line is going to be an horizontal, just like the one you guys see on the screen, just like this one, horizontal. But then I'm going to have a second number line that is going to cross at the 0, and it's going to be a vertical. So let me just rotate this to show you guys what a vertical line looks like. So a vertical line is the one going up and down, and notice what happens to the numbers. The negative numbers, they go down. The positive numbers, they go up, and this is from 0. If I make it horizontal, which is sideways, the negative numbers go to the left and the positive numbers go to the right. Well, that's what makes a coordinate plane. And you guys see one on the screen, coordinate plane. You guys have two lines, and the two lines are number lines with negative numbers and positive numbers. So first you need to understand a few things about the coordinate plane. Let's talk about the number lines. The number lines, they do have a name. So the name of the number lines, let me just zoom in here for a little bit. The one that's horizontal is called the x-axis. So all of this line here is called the x-axis, horizontal number line. The vertical number line is called the y-axis. So we have the y-axis vertical going up and down. In the middle, where they do cross the two number lines, we say this point of intersection is called the origin. Now, every point on this coordinate plane has numbers. So you guys see some points on the coordinate plane. We have this one here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. So how do you actually graph those points? Well, the point has two numbers. One is called the x coordinate, and the second one is called the y coordinate. The x coordinate tells you which way to move on the x-axis, and the y coordinate tells you which way to move on the y-axis. So the first number tells you to go to the left, to the right, and the y coordinate tells you to go up or down. Now we have to understand where are the numbers. So from the origin, on the x-axis, we do have the positive numbers to the right. So from the origin to the right on the x-axis, we have positive. So I'm going to count units of ones. So here's positive 1, positive 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth and so forth. So we have a positive 5 here. I'm just going to label my units, and a positive 10 here. When you go to the left side of the origin on the x-axis, we have the negative 1. So the negative 1 is here, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, and negative 10, and it keeps going and going and going. So we have the negative 5 here and the negative 10 over here, and in between we have the negative 3, the negative 7, and so forth. On the y-axis. Now the y-axis, you have to know that the positive numbers, they go to the top, they go up, and the negative numbers go down from the origin. Now remember, the origin is where the two lines cross. So I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put a 5 right there, which is my positive 5 y coordinate. And I keep going 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'll put a 10 on the top. So here's a positive 10. When you guys go down from the origin, negative 1, you have the negative numbers. Negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. So I have the negative 5 right here. And you guys can go all the way to negative 10, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9. Negative 10 is right here. Those numbers will tell us how to move on the coordinate plane to plot a point. Now, you notice that I show you 1, 2, 3, and 4 points. So let's talk about this point here. How do you get from the origin all the way to this point? So that's where you look at the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So I'm going to guide you guys to show you how to get to that point. So from the origin, I'm going to start counting the steps or units you have to move to go from this origin to this green point. So notice that, first of all, common sense, I have to go to the left. And then I have to go up. Imagine you guys are driving a car. If you start from the origin, you're going to start driving, going to the left, but then you're going to turn right here and you're going to go up. So let's count how many units is that. So from the origin, I go 1, 2, 3. Now remember that on the left side of the origin, we have the negative numbers. So that's not just 1, that's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Then I have to turn. And when I turn, I go up 1, 2. So what that means is positive numbers going up, that's on the y-axis. You guys have the positive 1 and the positive 2. So that's what is the coordinate of that point. The coordinate is negative 3, 2. It tells you the position. Where is that point on the coordinate plane? So that means we go 1, 2, 3 to the left. So that's negative and up 2. If you guys look at this pink point, negative 2, negative 6, that's because from the origin, I go 1, 2, so negative 1, negative 2, and then I have to go down. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. So that's why we have a negative 2, negative 6. And this one, well, from the origin, you go 5 to the right, so that's positive, and then you have to go down. So when you go down on the y coordinate, or the y-axis, it's negative, so you go down 4. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. So that's what a coordinate point is. You grab a point, we say you plot a point in the coordinate plane. Now something that's going to help you find those points are vocabulary words. So let's look at what you need to know. You need to know what's a quadrant. So quadrant 1 is the first box or square on the top right hand corner of the coordinate plane. So that's the name of the quadrant. Quad means 4, so it has 4 sides if you look at the square. Quadrant 2 is on the top left hand. Quadrant 3, bottom left, and quadrant 4 is bottom right. So you guys go counterclockwise when you count the quadrants. Something else that's also going to help you. If you know the numbers in quadrant 1, the coordinates have to be a positive x and a positive y. That's going to help you know where you guys need to go. So notice the numbers here. Any point on this quadrant has a positive x and a positive y. Positive 2, positive 5. Any quadrant in quadrant 2, you have a negative x and a positive y. Any point, so notice, negative 3, positive 2. Quadrant 3, x is negative, y is positive. Negative 2, negative 6. So any point in this quadrant, it's negative x, negative y. In quadrant 4, you guys have a positive x and a negative y. Positive 5, negative 4. So any points on this quadrant, any point, will have a positive x and a negative y. So now that you know what's a coordinate plane, we can start plotting points and we can find out the coordinates of those points. So let's try an example. So I have points A all the way to F on this coordinate plane. I put the units so you guys can see the steps that we have to do or count. So let's go ahead and look at point A. Point A is right here. The origin is right in the middle. So I need to know how many steps I need to move from the origin to point A. So from the origin, I'm going to count. I need to go to the right. 1, 2. So notice that you always start with the x coordinate. You go to the left or to the right. So it is a positive 2. So on the bottom coordinate right here, and the numbers have to be inside of parentheses. That's how we always have a order pair. So we're going to have positive 2. So that's going to be my x. And then I'm going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my y coordinate or my y value is 7. So my point A is at 2, 7. Let's try B. For B, from the origin, you go to the left. So you always start with the x coordinate first. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Notice that's where I need to turn. So negative 4 goes here. So that's my x. And I need to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my y coordinate is 6. So B, point B is at negative 4, 6. Point C, from the origin. You always start at the origin. That's your starting point when you graph. So I go positive 1, 2, 3, 4. So I go 4 to the right, and I go 1 up. 1 step or 1 unit up. Point D, from the origin, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So that's a negative 3, and I go down 1, 2, negative 3. So negative 3, negative 3. E, now E, notice, is on the y-axis. So what that means, from the origin, I don't have to move to the left or to the right because it's right on top of the origin. So when you don't have to move on the x-axis, that's going to be a 0. 0 tells you not to move left or right. Or even on the y-axis, if the y coordinate is 0, you don't go up, you don't go down. So E is at 0, and I have to count how many I go up. 1, 2. So 2 up. So 0, 2 is point E. Point F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. So 7 to the right is positive. 5 down is negative. So 7, negative 5. So remember the first number is x. The second number is y. That's how we have the order pair. Alphabetical order, same thing. X is before the y. And you guys have the points. So you guys found the points. Now let's go ahead and graph. So we're going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to give you a coordinate, and you guys will graph the point. Looking at these points, A, B, C, D, and E, notice that we do have an order pair, which means that you guys have an x coordinate and a y coordinate. X is the first number, and y is the second number. So I'm going to plot point A first. So I'm going to use a blue color for A. And that means that I need to go from the origin 2 steps to the right and 3 steps up. So I'm going to turn when I go 2 steps to the right. And I don't have those units here on the screen, but I'm going to make them. From the origin, 1, 2 to the right, and I go 1, 2, and 3. But notice what I do. From the origin, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So here's the point. So I'm just going to make the point right there. Now, purple is going to be B. Well, actually, let me just label the point A here. B is 3, 0. Now, X is the first number, 3, and Y is the second number. So from the origin, I'm going to go 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm right here, but the Y is 0, which means you don't go up or down. So my point is going to be right here. So that's point B. Now point C. Point C is -4 and 7. So I need to go to the left. From the origin, I always start from the origin. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to turn up because the Y is positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right here is your point C. Point D is 0. So there's your X. And -2 is your Y. So 0 means that you don't move to the left or to the right. When X equals 0, you stay at the origin. But the Y is -2, so you guys need to go down 1, 2. So I'm going to make a point right here. And this is point D. And point E, you guys will go 2 to the left. -2 is your X. So 1, 2, and then -8 is the Y. So you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right here is point E. So you guys can have, notice what you can do, or what you can have when you graph. You can have points on the first quadrant. You can have points on the third quadrant, second quadrant. On the x-axis, let me just put the name of the axis so you guys remember. This is your x-axis. So you can have a point on that line or on the y-axis. Y-axis is the vertical. So you can have a point on the line, y-axis. You can have a point on the x-axis. So make sure that you guys understand how to graph points, because we are going to start graphing different functions and you have to use points to connect and make a function, a shape. Alright guys, I'm going to have to make a second part of this section, so make sure you guys check that out and make sure you guys practice. See you guys later.